I was actually 16 years old when I first started looking into life insurance. And I saw some Cody Askins videos. And at some point, he mentions the Life Insurance Academy podcast. Eventually, I was like, all right, I'm going to reach out because you guys mentioned if you have any questions or concerns, reach out. And I said, okay, I'm going to reach out and just, talk to these guys. I know I'm well over 100,000 written business in my first 11 months, and I still got a month to go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Life Insurance Academy podcast. We've got a very special episode for you guys, and with a dude who's very near and dear to my heart. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this today. And what I want to do is introduce you to my friend, Andrew Nair. Welcome to the podcast, Andrew. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, Chris. Thanks for having me today.
Now, for you guys who are watching the podcast, I know it's pretty clear that Andrew and we look like we're the same age, but we're not. We're not. I'm a little bit older than Andrew. I'm in my 40s, late 40s. We'll put it at that, late 40s, and Andrew's exiting his teens, guys. So we cover the gamut. I mean, we've had folks who are in their 60s, and now we're talking to a 19-year-old who's in the business. And the reason we've had Andrew on today is because he's had some success, and we want to share that with you today. So, Andrew, you've been going at this for a long time now, at least in the scope of your existence, right? So, how long you been rolling in the business?
So it's about 11 months now. It'll be 12 months, June 24th.
Oh, congratulations, man. That's a big deal.
Thanks.
Congratulations. So I have a recent run here, and maybe you can tell me a little more of your numbers, all right? But you have a recent run here of 32 applications, $39,000 of production in 6 weeks, and that's averaging about $6,500 a week in annualized premium on issue paid business. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Congratulations. That's big time. So now we have people's attention, right? So can you give us a little more context on your numbers? Do you know your 11-month run? Do you know what your total is?
Oh man, to be honest with you, I don't know my 11-month run. I know I'm well over 100,000 written business in my first 11 months, and I still got a month to go.
Very good, man.
Yeah.
You get knuckles there. Come on, give me the knuckles. Good job. Oh, wow. That was huge on this TV. But excellent job. Excellent job. And you won, we do a system. We call this a Diamond Award. You got your Diamond Award. Do you feel like achievement is a big deal? Do you like running for those types of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very goal oriented. So being able to have a goal that I can write down every morning before I hit the field and keep it and flip it down like you guys talked about in a past episode. That's something I really believe in, and it definitely helps encourage me and keep me focused on achieving that goal.
Very good, man. Well, I've got some questions for you for our podcast listeners. And I want you guys to pay attention because, maybe if you're building your agency, you haven't thought of this. Like, maybe do I know some 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds who have a drive within them to be successful? So we're going to talk about this and what this journey's been like with Andrew. And I think he's going to give you some nuggets that will help you develop people, but also some things to look for when you're hiring people. So Andrew, why don't we start here? Why don't we talk about how you got connected to this opportunity?
Okay. So I was actually 16 years old when I first started looking into life insurance. And I saw some Cody Askins videos. And at some point, he mentions the Life Insurance Academy podcast. When I started listening, there was actually 4 episodes so far.
Wow, dude. You're an early adapter there. 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And so I used to listen every day. And I was working at Starbucks at the time, and I would throw an AirPod in, and I'd be working while I'm listening to the new episode. And eventually I just, I was like, all right, I'm going to reach out because you guys mentioned if you have any questions or concerns, reach out. And I said, okay, I'm going to reach out and just, talk to these guys. And so, long story short, I ended up getting your number and we
Yep.
talked on the phone. And I was actually sitting on my back porch because family of six. It was really loud in the house. So I went outside on my back porch. We talked on the phone for about an hour and a half. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember very well.
Yep.
And I just kind of told you about my life experiences and that this is something I'm interested in. And you were like, yeah, that's great. You sound like you'd be a great fit. The only issue is you're only 17.
Right.
So I actually had to wait a year before I was able to take my pre-licensing course and take my licensing exam. So do you want me to continue on that or?
No, that's good, man. That's good. That's it's pretty funny. Like when I talk about this, one of my jokes that I talk through is, when I was a kid, we sat in the treehouse and talked about how we all were going to be insurance agents. you know, like that's not everybody's dream to be an insurance agent, but that caught your attention. And one of the things that was such an attractor to me in our conversation, well, hey, I was a youth pastor for years, so you get a young person who's hungry to learn, dude, you got my attention, right? So that was kind of fun talking to you about that. The next thing was, you were a learner. Like, you were consistently asking me about books that you could read, what's next. Like, I couldn't keep up with you. Like, okay, what's next? What's next? Okay, how do I prepare for the pre-test? And I'm like, dude, like, you just take the pre-test. Like, to prepare for it is the course. That's the preparation. But you were so hungry and trying to be ready for the opportunity. So we've had these conversations. You took the pre-test. How many times did it take you to pass the test?
Just one try.
Perfect. And you actually were licensed before you graduated, is that right?
It was 2 days after I graduated.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And then you kind of dropped a bombshell on me that you were looking to make some changes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Ah, I think that was actually before I had even graduated. Um,
Mm,
I still had about 2 months left of high school, but it was all online because of COVID.
yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time, now fiance, and I decided that we wanted to get out of Arizona and just try something new. And you had mentioned, oh, well, I got a great producer out in Austin, Texas named Tim Wright, who is an incredible mentor. Um, Honestly, I got to credit him for most of my success just because he's been there along the way and encouraging me and training me and role playing more than I probably would care to admit. um, but you just mentioned that he was out there, and if I wanted to get some one-on-one training, I could go out to Texas. So a month later, Nina and I had gotten an apartment in Austin, Texas, and I got to meet Tim. We had breakfast together a couple days after I moved. I picked up a part-time job just to pay rent and my bills while I was getting started. Took my pre-licensing course, graduated, took my state exam. I had about 2 days training in the car with Tim, and then I was ready to roll.
That's very good, man. Now, I want to give folks some context here. In our conversations, you know, um, you had some opportunities. You were doing sports. You were a wide receiver. I think you were scouted pretty highly, and you were looking at possibly having some scholarship opportunities to play football. And you had a conversation with your parents that this was the direction that you wanted to go, and you were for going college. Now, we all for continuing education, and this was kind of I was a little conflicted here because ultimately this was a conversation that you and your parents had to have. Like, that's what I want to make sure that everybody was cool with this before you made any of these types of changes. How many times did I
Right.
talk to you about that?
Oh, I mean, we connected weekly for a while there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
my parents were definitely skeptical, I would say. They knew that I had found an opportunity. but also I think they see that there's lots of false opportunities out there.
Yeah.
And I did. I had some college options for both basketball and football, and academically, I was up there right around a 4.0 all throughout high school. But I just knew that I didn't want to continue my education for 4 or 5 or 6 more years, depending on my degree. And honestly, I don't know if my knees could have handled more college sports.
Mm.
I tore my ACL in both of them. I've had a leg surgery, so I just was I definitely miss it, but I was ready to move on and start my career and really find something that I can sink my teeth into and just give it my all. And when the opportunity presented itself, I was all in.
Yeah, man, I could tell that from the very beginning, and I could tell you were very hungry. You did. I mean, that conversation. Yeah, initially it was, "Hey, Nina and I are moving to California," and I was like, "What the heck are you talking about? Are you mad? Are you crazy? What's going on?" And I said, "Hey, listen, why don't we pump the brakes on California, uh, and get you connected to a mentor, and possibly would you be willing?" That's why I said, "Would you be willing to check out Austin, Texas?" Because I want somebody to come put their arm around you, link arms with you to help you walk this path to be successful. But dude, you're a dreamer, and I love that about you. I mean, I get a call like, "Hey Chris, do you think in about 6 months we'll be able to move to Mexico and sell over the phone?" And I'm like, "Well, let's not do 6 months. Let's get this baby pumped up, ready to go, and built up so you have that freedom without additional pressure." But dude, your willingness to jump in has been inspiring. But let me ask this question. What was attractive to you about this? Like, you heard Cody, what was it that was spinning in your mind that kept replaying that caused you to take action on this simplified issue journey of insurance?
Yeah. Um, I think that freedom is a big part of it. The ability to set my own hours and be my own boss. Um, I'm very independent. I don't really like to be told what to do.
Hmm.
Um, I'm coachable, but not to the point where I like to be, I guess, commanded to do things. I like to be told how to do it and the best way to do it, but not necessarily forced to do it. So
Yeah.
this opportunity allowed me the freedom to kind of go about it the way that I see the best way and the way that my mentors can tell me without being forced to do it that way. And also the opportunity to go make 6 figures in your first year is, well, there's very few jobs out there that could even come close to that.
That's very good. And you've had some opportunities for freedom. I know you've had some challenges that you've faced recently. Um, can you talk a little about your some of those health challenges, the amount of time that was taken for you to get over, and things like that?
Yeah. So I think the first major hurdle that I had was it was less than a month in the business, and I had a 1997 Mustang, and I got in an accident and it was totaled. And I think the biggest part of that was I was 18. I had no credit. I'm less than a month in the life insurance business. I wrote some pretty decent business my first couple of weeks, but obviously I don't want to spend that in case of chargebacks.
Right.
So yeah, I got in a car accident. I actually got a concussion, and then we had 8% the next day. So I went to that event with a concussion. So Cody Askins
You
is
don't
out
even
there like on
remember it.
stage. Yeah, the lights and loud noises, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my brain's gonna explode.
Yeah, wasn't there a warning, "Be careful watching the flashing lights" or something in the intro
Yeah,
video? Andrew's like
yeah, there was.
spinning, like his head's spinning. Adam's gonna throw in some cool stuff there. I always do that to Adam. That's great.
But I would
So
say that was the first challenge was losing my car because that was my vehicle to get from door to door.
yeah.
Um, Luckily, my girlfriend just really was incredible, and she said that I could use her car. And she actually biked to work for about a month and a half before I was able to get my own car. And it was a challenge. Before I wrecked my car, I didn't have any AC in it. It went out as soon as I moved out here to Texas. So I actually,
I
you
remember
know
that. I
this,
think you were
yeah.
taking out like 5 or 6 shirts with you because you were sweating through them in the Texas heat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
I kept my doors down to try and get a breeze, and I wouldn't let my back touch the seat because then my back would get all wet. So
Yeah.
I'd like lean forward in my car, but those were definitely some challenges. And then shortly after Christmas, I had planned on taking 3 weeks off for Christmas break, and I went out and visited my family in Arizona and hung out with some friends. And as soon as I got back, I actually ended up getting COVID. And this was my second time getting it, and it hit me a lot harder the second time than the first time. The first time I didn't even know it hit me.
Yeah.
But the second time I was bedridden for about 2 weeks. I had been working out pretty consistently before that, and I could barely get off the couch to go to the bathroom.
And that took you out. What was the time frame? I know you were laid up for 2 weeks, but it went longer than that. Was it 6 weeks? How long was?
It was about 6 weeks that I was really, really sick. Yeah. Um, I also had mono at the same time, so I was just and I got destroyed.
Yeah.
There was actually one night that I told Nina, "Hey, do you mind setting an alarm for like 3 or 4 hours and just make sure that I'm still breathing?"
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah,
So, the thing I've loved about your journey is the resilience that you have shown. I mean, the car issue. I remember those conversations because these are issues that come up for specifically for a young person who doesn't have any credit. Like, it's not like you could just go out and get a car. You were starting to get some money in place where you could have put some money down, but you couldn't get a loan. But
right.
it was awesome to watch you navigate these types of things, looking for solutions. That's a key to resiliency because I feel like there's a lot of people who get hit with these roadblocks and they're walking up to them. You know what I'm saying? They're like walking up
Right.
and running into them. They're not realizing that they can overcome these types of obstacles, but they need momentum to do it. And you've always maximized your momentum, which is a powerful, powerful thing. As far as your process here, Andrew, can you talk a little bit about your sales process? I know you're specifically doing final expense. You've
Yeah.
worked towards learning some other processes, but what is your current process, and what can you share about that with our audience here?
Yeah. So I'm going to start on a Friday evening because that's usually when my process begins. Um,
Great.
Friday evening, I like to print all my leads for the next week out, and I get them routed, and I go over my folders, make sure I have all my folders and applications for all the carriers, and I actually go put it in my car. I get my lanyard and I put it in my car just so that when Monday comes around, I have everything I need. And that really just lets me disconnect and relax for the weekend. So I can go hiking with Nina and the dogs on Saturday, and we can go to church and hang out on Sunday. And then when Monday comes, I'm ready to roll. Um, it just kind of, I guess, helps take a little bit of stress off. I'm not thinking about work. That was an issue that I really had when I first got started. Was I was thinking about work 24/7. On the weekends, I was thinking about work, and it just led to me, I guess, overthinking it. And I honestly, it caused a little bit of
How did that
anxiety.
hurt you, do you think?
It made me more anxious. So then going up to my first door on Monday, instead of being more relaxed and ready to roll, I was anxious because I'd been thinking about it all weekend. Like, all right, do I still have it? But being able to just disconnect and relax, like actually relax, has just helped me immensely. And then on Monday, I am ready to roll, and I'm not exhausted and I'm not tired from the week before. I'm ready to go, and I know how I have numbers that I got to hit.
Very good. And can you talk about your goals and numbers for the week, just so people know what they should expect if they're doing the same type of business process?
So my goal every day is $1,000 a day. That's my mindset every morning, and I write it down. Write $1,000 in good business that day. That means guaranteed issue doesn't really count. Great
Okay.
Western, Gerber for the guys in advanced team, and it just helps me get in that right mindset that I'm gonna hit that no matter what. And then if I get over, that's awesome. I'm not gonna call it a day early, even if I do get over that $1,000. Um, I'm generally out there from 10 a.m. at the latest until about 8 or 9 p.m., just depending on if I can get somebody to set an appointment in the evening with me or not.
That's good.
There's a lot of couples that will tell you that their spouse isn't home and they don't get off work
Yeah.
until later. So I like to try and schedule an appointment for as late as I possibly can. Um, I'll tell them, hey, I've got an 8 and a 9 o'clock available. Which one of those works for you? And if they say a 9 o'clock, I'm like, yes, that is
Yes.
more time out in the field. Like now I got to tell Nina I'm going to be home late. um,
Very good. Is it
obviously
do
also
you have
what
a goal of sits that you're trying to reach, you're trying to hit?
I go for 4 to 5 sits every day.
Okay.
Sometimes I fall a little bit short. Sometimes I have exceeded that a few times. Um, 5, I think, is the magic number because if you get 5 sits, you're going to write some good business. Regardless of what level you are in your experience, you're going to write some applications on 5 sits.
But as you say that, you've done this 11 months. Do you can you talk about the value of repetitions for an agent as far as the learning curve?
Yeah, I think the repetitions are the most valuable thing that you could possibly have
Mhm.
at your disposal, really, because it gets you more comfortable with your own process. I think when you first start out, it's kind of foreign to you. It's like learning a new language. Like you know that it's possible and you know that it's there, but you're not really comfortable with it. But then when you start doing the presentation and going through underwriting, you get more comfortable with it. You start to familiarize yourself with the different pages and the transitions and kind of make it your own too. I feel like when I first started out, I was trying to do a presentation that wasn't really me. And the
Yeah.
longer I've been in it, the more I've been able to kind of personalize it to myself. And it's made me more comfortable in homes. And it's definitely led to me writing more business consistently.
Very good, man. That's strong. And let me ask you this. You've learned a lot. I mean, this is like dog years in this business, right? So
Yeah.
like 1 year in this business can feel like 3 years or 7 years or whatever, but you've showed strong work ethic. You've shown great resilience. You are a learner. Like those, I think, are your three greatest attributes. You're very approachable, well spoken, all that stuff. But what is it you've learned maybe about yourself or this business?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned about the business is the opportunity is there. Um, but you need to find good people to be around. You need to find good mentors. You need to find people like Advanced Team where you can connect with them and get encouragement and just go over. I mean, Zach will tell you when I first got started, I would call him every night and it was about 11 o'clock, 11:30 my time because it was on my way home. And so
Yeah.
I was calling him at about 12:30 on his time zone. And he'd answer the phone and be like, man, I'm trying to sleep. What are you calling me about? but but having people where I can call them at 11:30 on my way home and connect with them and just go over some of my sits and some of my door knocks and refine my craft. I think that's invaluable in this business. And then about myself, I think the biggest thing I've realized is um, just that I have goals and I have things that I want to achieve. And I didn't realize the potential when I first got started. And the longer I've been in it, the more I've been able to see a future for myself. And it's like you mentioned, there's a me 10 years from now, and he's having coffee with me right now, and he's saying these are things that you got to do. So I don't want any excuses. You got to go get it done, and I'll see you on the other side.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that that resonated with you. And just to give context, like we had a conversation about your future and things that you were working on. And it's a good question for our listeners, you know. Um, Imagine that you're sitting with yourself 10 years from now, that the 10-year version of you had the opportunity to sit down with you right now and say, hey, the life that we have right now could be way better if you could just work on this and this and this. Like, can you get this stuff done so that I can enjoy my life now? And I know that resonated with you, and that's pretty cool, man. And I think we have to have that perspective, and also the perspective of being able to relax. It's such a fine balance, you know, being able to enjoy our time off when we have our time off, and go to the door imagining that we have $1 million in the bank. You know, if
Yeah,
you can if you can approach your work that way, then there's no pressure whether you get the sale or not. You're just doing your job the right way. That's the important part. So the last question here, the very last question, what advice do you have for new agents who are possibly coming on? They're looking at this. There's this whole fog of war of their success. What advice do you have for them, Andrew?
Just jump in. I have a lot of friends that are wanting to get started, but they're kind of on the fence about it. They're not sure if they can succeed. And the reality is that anybody can do this job. You just have to have a good work ethic, a willingness to go work the same hours you'd be working at any other job. And you have to have a willingness to be coached and just to learn. I know I mentioned being able to disconnect and relax on the weekends, but I think it's important that you earn that. When I first got started, I did not take 2 days off. I was working 7 days, whether I was out in the field or I was at home practicing my presentation and going over underwriting. So I think it's important that if you're going to do this business, then you need to really be all in and give it your all to learning and refining your craft. And later on down the line, you'll have so much more freedom, so much more time, and you'll be a lot more comfortable out in the field than if you were to, take it slow for a few months and not really give it your all. And also, I would say, really find somebody that you can connect with that can help lead you through the process, that has done it before and has been successful and can help teach you how to be successful. Because that's the biggest thing is, it's easy for people to tell you that, but if they haven't done it themselves, then it's hard to believe it. The reality is, I've seen Tim do it himself. I was there with him along his executive diamond run. That's when I was making my diamond run. So we were actually on Road Warriors together. We'd get home at night and we'd talk about our days and push ourselves a little bit, go over things that we can fix and refine. And it really just helps you, achieve your potential quicker than if you were to take your time and not have somebody that knows how to do it and has already done it.
Very good, man. I tell you what, you just dropped some gold nuggets there. And if you're listening to the podcast, take some time to listen to it again and take some notes, because I think there's valuable information there. And Andrew, I got to tell you, we couldn't be more proud of you, man. We couldn't be more proud of being able to associate with you. And we believe in your future. You've got a bright future. So thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thanks, Chris. The feeling's mutual.
Great. Thanks, man. So again, for you as the listener, the goal of this is to let you know there are other Andrews out there waiting for an opportunity. Now, this Andrew's spoken for, okay? This Andrew's here. But there are other Andrews, other people like Andrew, young people, and especially in today's market. I mean, it's difficult to graduate from college and know that you're probably, like 60 to 80% of people are graduating with a degree and they're not going into the line of work that they graduated with. So this is the time to have these types of conversations, because this is a real opportunity to change lives. And if you're a new agent, pay attention to what this guy said, man. He dropped some bombs for you today, some great stuff. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and we will catch you on the next Life Insurance Academy podcast.